Hi, praise be to God. The word of the Lord to you today is let God. Let God do what he wants. In the book of Genesis chapter 16 verse 1 to 5, the word of the Lord says that, Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave, perhaps I can build a family through her. Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai his wife took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abraham, You are responsible for the wrong I'm suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. So we can see that after reading these verses that Sarai was blaming Abraham for her suffering because of the way Hagar was behaving towards her. But the truth is that it was not really Abraham's fault. It was Sarai's. She gave Abraham to Hagar. Abraham really loved and trusted Sarai very much. He never really questioned her words or actions. When Sarai suggested to Abraham to sleep with Hagar, Abraham did not hesitate. He agreed to it because it is what Sarai wanted. And also when Sarai talks to him about Hagar's behavior towards her, he does not hesitate. He tells her in verse 6 that, Your slave is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think is best. Then the rest of the verse goes on and says that, Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. Even though Hagar was carrying his child, to Abraham, Hagar was just a slave. She was Sarai's slave, and so it was Sarai's responsibility to deal with her behavior. Going back to verse 6, Abraham says to Sarai that, Your slave is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think best. Everyone who sins is a slave like Hagar, but when they are born again, they are no longer slaves but sons. They are sons of God. In the book of John chapter 8 verse 34 to 36, Jesus says that, Very truly I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now a slave has no permanent place in the family, but a son belongs to it forever. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. When a person is born again, God is now in charge of their lives, just like Sarai was in charge of Hagar's life. A slave has no choice, they have no say, but a son does. If you're born again, you're a son or a daughter of God. And since you're God's child, you have a choice. You can either let God do what he wants in your life, or you can choose to do things your way. If you let God do what he wants, you will be amazed by what God can do. But if you choose to do things your way, you will not have the life that God intended for you to have. For Jesus says in the book of John chapter 10 verse 10 that, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. In the book of John chapter 15 verse 15, Jesus says to his disciples that, I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you.